Welcome to another edition of Battery Corner. My name is Ryan Austin. We are here with Battery Alex, our director of battery intelligence at Lyteflo. Battery Alex, how are you doing?
Good. Turned 30 today, so
Wow, 30. Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Crossed
a big
another
one.
decade.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, you've got a
made it.
PhD, you've got an almost PhD
Yeah,
by
exactly.
30. This is, I think you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, can't complain. Much better quality this time around too. Look, things are looking up. You know.
Yes, it's an iterative process. So, okay, let's start. There's been some battery news this week. Cattle. I can't recall the name of the company. It's Cattle. It's
What do you mean? Like what it stands for?
Amperex. Yeah,
It's like Contemporary Amperex something.
Contemporary
Technology.
Amperex Technology Co. Limited.
Yeah,
Cattle. CATL, the biggest battery maker in the world. Announced that they're going to have sodium ion batteries in EVs by the end of 2026. What does that mean, and do we care?
Yeah, so I mean, we should care about sodium because it's in theory cheaper and more environmentally responsible than lithium chemistries. Basically, those are the two main things. Because sodium, you have it everywhere, like table salt, sodium chloride. So like we can extract it from seawater, we can get it from a bunch of different processes, just on the side. Like lithium, we have to actively look for and extract. So it's harmful to the environment to do it that way, and it's more expensive. And sodium is everywhere in the world too, so there's no geopolitics around the sodium like there is for lithium. So there's a ton of advantages to sodium. Like really, it's a no-brainer. The problem is just it doesn't have the same energy density as lithium, so your batteries don't perform as well, basically. So that's been the big challenge: is how do we bring sodium up to the level of lithium chemistries? So there's been a lot of work going into it, but now Cattle, with this announcement, seems to be bringing it up to near the level of an LFP lithium battery. So we're kind of starting to get comparable for those short range vehicles. And like that's a big deal because even though because kind of in the hierarchy of cost and like toxicity and stuff, we have your NCA and NMC chemistries. That's the nickel, manganese, cobalt. And then we have LFP, which is better on a lot of fronts because it has iron, which is a lot more benign, cheaper. It's found around the world. And then with sodium, you get both advantages because now we're replacing the lithium, and the cathode for sodium is also iron based. So it's not like you're regressing in that regard either. So yeah, there's a lot of advantages to be had there. So that's why it's exciting.
The NMCs, those have lithium as well.
Yeah, so like the NMC and LFP, those ones are lithium cathodes.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I read a book about cobalt mining in Congo. It was horrific.
Yeah, exactly. That's like kind of the dirty secret that they try to hide. They don't really advertise it. But and the thing is too, a lot of places claim they don't source from Congo, but it's because you have like one or two intermediaries that buy from Congo, and then they say they traced
clean
it.
It's
well, exactly.
Well, and it's not only EVs. I know we focus on EVs here, but we're talking about iPhones. We're talking about like every electronic.
If anything, it's probably worse. I don't know the details of the chemistry they use, but more cobalts in the higher performance cathodes, which like those are going to be in your phone because they only expect to last 2 years, where like an EV you want to last like 10 to 15. Yeah.
So sodium ion. So it sounds like this could be something that we see more of in the future, given that it's lower cost, which is important with affordability with EVs and so on. How does it, in terms of performance, how does it affect, say, range in cold weather and charge speeds?
Yeah, so with the range, it's lower because basically, fundamentally, sodium is bigger than lithium, like on an atom level. And then, so each time you capture one sodium to store it, you need more volume than you do with one lithium. Now that's oversimplifying a bit. There's also like the different materials and stuff you need to use, but basically,
like if you have the same size battery, you won't have as much energy in it. You'll have to have a bigger battery essentially.
So
right?
Both volume, so volumetrically, so like the size of the battery, you need a bigger battery to store the same energy, and from a mass perspective. So like for the same weight, you also need a bigger battery. So that's why it's a lot of people have talked about sodium in terms of grid storage because you don't have the size and weight restrictions like you do in an EV. So primarily that's where a lot of like the research has been focused. But now that they're starting to increase it enough where it can compete with LFP, like lithium chemistry, where its energy per kilogram is getting high enough where they're starting to become comparable with this new announcement anyway. If the measurements are accurate, like we'll see once it gets like independently verified. But yeah, then we can finally get into low range cars. So it's still not going to have the same energy density of your high performance long range cars. We can't expect that anytime soon.
Not going in a lucid gravity.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're I think they're targeting more like the 350 to 400 kilometer range vehicles.
I think they said miles.
I'm not 100% sure.
Well, at least in the article
I need to double check.
I think I saw miles. Maybe I'm
it could
maybe
be.
I'm wrong.
Let's see. Let's look this up real quick.
Let's look it up. We're doing a real time look up here. It says 370 plus miles.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so I think that was part of the news is like, hey, and we're aiming for 370 miles of range.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. Oh, on electric here. Yeah. Okay, because anyway, like now historically they also have been a little bit optimistic on their range. Like cattle, which, of course, shocking. So yeah, we'll see what to expect. And then of course too, like then there's, as you said, the cold weather performance. So it's still, this is a bit unclear because it basically one of the main limitations with cold weather performance is the electrolyte of the battery. So this is not related to the cathode. The cathode does have an impact as well. Like LFP performs worse than NMC, for instance, in the cold. But the main driver for cold weather performance is the electrolyte. So the problem is with liquid electrolytes, which the sodium battery almost certainly will have, is that they become viscous, so they get thicker in the cold, and that slows down the lithium transport. Yeah. So you can imagine it's like you're having to swim in water versus like syrup, to get to the other side. It's like that kind of thing. So it's like, so that's what slows it down. So that's why they precondition the battery. They heat them up when you do a fast charge. So the battery consumes energy to heat itself up. So the electrolyte is not as viscous. So you're looking at comparable to your current short range vehicles, which use the LFP cathode and liquid electrolyte. Those ones, you should expect slightly better cold weather performance than lithium LFP based. So again, it's comparable in that regard. So it's really just raising the energy density is the main problem with sodium. And it seems like from this announcement, they're starting to get there.
Yep. Do you have an idea in mind of how much more cost effective it is? How much cheaper it is for sodium? Like 20%, 30%? I don't know.
That's a good question because I'm not entirely sure, because a lot of these come from the economies of scale. Like if you look at lithium, like that cost has fallen like 90-something%, like high 90%.
I think some of that is because of oversupply as well.
Yeah. So I don't know, like they haven't announced pricing, I don't think. Let's just see here if there's any rumors or anything. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, so it's looking like we're expecting. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't see any official numbers, but just in general, I would likely, from what I've read in some sort of surveys from other firms and stuff, people are expecting basically I think a 20 to 30% cost reduction, once everything's tuned and at scale and everything, which is pretty significant considering it's the most expensive part of the car.
Yeah, I mean that could be the difference between a, I don't know, $60,000 Equinox and a $50,000 Equinox, right?
Now, the slight caveat there is how are they achieving the higher density? Because the problem is there's the chemistry side of it, which we discussed, and then there's the engineering side. So a lot of the weight of the battery is in the casing to protect it and all of that stuff. And you may have read, if you read the articles, they keep saying this, there's cell to pack and cell to module to pack. And what that means is basically inside of the battery, you have all of these like hundreds or thousands of individual little batteries. And then traditionally, those are packaged as a set of maybe like a few dozen or something, or 16 into a module. And then those modules like are physically encased. And then those are packed together into the pack. Now that's not very efficient in terms of volume, because now you have you have two sets of casing, right? It's like complicated. So they're trying to move toward cell to pack, which is just you put the individual cells all together in the big pack and then just have one big case around it. So that's a lot more efficient from a weight and volume perspective. So if you gain in that regard, to kind of go slightly adjacent with their announcement for their very fast charging, high capacity lithium batteries, those ones, they're using a titanium alloy or something that's definitely more expensive, but it's thinner and lighter. So that's where the cost can kind of come, like how much of the gain is through engineering versus through the chemistry, because the raw materials may be cheaper, but if you have to do something more complicated or like kind of next gen materials in order to make it work, then it might kind of offset that advantage.
I'm curious about regenerative braking. I think that a lot of people, particularly dealers, won't understand how that works. And it's kind of an important component of an electric vehicle for maintaining or extending your range and so on. How does regenerative braking work, and what does it do for you?
So basically at its simplest, it's literally, so all electric motors are also electric generators. It's just operating them in reverse. So fundamentally, what's happening is when you have a battery, you use that to drive current into your motor, which spins it, and then that gets transferred to your wheels. Now, with regenerative braking, all it is if you just let the wheels roll and you let them turn the motor, that will push current back into the battery. So what's happening is traditionally, like with brake pads, what you're doing is slowing the car with friction. So you're clamping the wheel, and then you have some sort of material that's sacrificial that heats up and then slows the car down. But here, your friction is the force required to move the electrons in the lithium across your battery. So you're spinning the motor. That motor there's a magnetic field in there. When you move the magnets in this field, you're pushing electrons back into the battery, and that requires force. So that's what's actually slowing your car down, is the physical act of moving all the charges around to recharge your battery. So that's what regenerative braking is. So it's more efficient, because instead of taking the energy and using friction to burn it off as heat, which is useless, you're putting the energy back into the battery, which then you can consume again. So that's the main advantage of it, is it just makes it much more efficient.
Yeah, and that's what we call single pedal driving, essentially, in an EV, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because you take your foot off the brake, and then they still have brakes, obviously. So if you slam the brakes, it'll happen. And then you can tune how much regenerative braking you have in most vehicles too. Like some have a little paddles or whatever. And then the problem with regenerative braking, just in driving experience, is if you have it very high, it can be kind of a little bit motion sickness inducing to passengers, especially if you're not used to EVs, because it kind of is like you're applying a little bit of brake every time you take your foot off the gas. And that can be a little jarring for people, but that's why it's adjustable. So you can kind of trade your efficiency for your comfort.
And regular hybrid, that's kind of how that works, right? There's like in a regular hybrid, not a plug-in hybrid.
Exactly.
We've got regular hybrids, we've got plug-in hybrids, and we've got electric vehicles. For some people, this may be obvious, but there are literally millions of people that it's not. Yeah. They don't know the difference, and even people in the car business. And so for a hybrid vehicle, it has a tiny battery, relatively tiny battery, which does take charge, but it will take a charge from the braking of the regenerative braking of and I guess, is there a motor? Is there a motor there?
Yeah, to extract the energy, you need the motor. So
I see. So there's an engine and there's an electric motor.
Yeah, that's why they've been more expensive historically, because you have to have kind of two different sets of everything, because you need to be able to do the motor side and you have to do the gas side.
Right. And the motor's driving as well?
I think they do have 2 drive chains. I got to double check that, but I'm not a vehicle engineer or anything. But, you know, like, because I know you can go pure electric at low speed, but then I think like on the highway, you can just purely use your gas engine. So they must have 2 drive chains. Yeah, they have to. Yeah, so it's like more complicated. It's more expensive, but it's more efficient. So
even those batteries degrade.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
exactly. They all suffer from the same issues. It's just there you do less on your pure electric. Like people don't really expect to have pure electric driving, so it's not as big of a deal.
Yeah.
And then your plug-in hybrid is that like intermediate where it's like now you expect to have more pure electric driving because you have a battery you can just charge directly.
Yeah, bigger battery actually plugs in.
Yeah.
Often you can, a lot of people just plug in into a regular wall charger that you would plug your iPhone in, trickle charge, level 1, also known as level 1.
Yeah.
No special plug necessary.
And you get access to the EV parking spaces.
Oh yeah. Well, usually you have to charge in those though. Oh
yeah, but you can just charge with it.
Yeah, you charge with it.
Even if it only takes you like 20 minutes to charge your battery, you can still use it, you know?
Yeah. All right, great. Well, I think we'll leave it there for today. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us again, Battery Alex, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Bye.